Good morning. Today we will be talking about dividing polynomials using synthetic division. So synthetic division is used in Algebra 2 and Algebra 1. The difference is in Algebra 2, the TEKS say it's degree 3 and of degree 4. And for Algebra 1, it's degree 1 and degree 2. So this video is going to have a little bit of both. Okay. So here are all the steps for synthetic division. I would write these down if you need them. So we're going to start off with writing down all the coefficients of the dividend, even if the coefficient is 0. So in this case, we have a 3x cubed, a negative 2x squared. But how many x's do we have? We have 0 x's. So descending order means we start at the highest exponent and we write down our coefficients. 3, negative 2, 0, and negative 150, which are the numbers that we put inside here. So notice our coefficients. Again, inside, we put 3, negative 2. I showed my 0 in yellow because you have to have every single descending order from your highest to your constant at the end. Okay? So that's the first step, is to write down all of these numbers. The second step is to solve your divisor for x. Your divisor is what you're dividing by. So we need to know what x is equal to. Okay? That x minus 4 is very important, but we also need to know what x equals to. So x equals a positive 4, and that's the number that's going to go on the outside. Okay? So we did step 2. Step 3. We're going to always bring down our first term. So whatever that first term is, that's always going to be your first term there. So we start with a 3. The next step is to take this 3 and multiply it by your outside term. So 3 times 4 is 12. That's where that 12 came from. Okay? We're going to add these together. So negative 2 plus 12 is positive 10. And we're going to keep repeating the process. 10 times 4 is 40. Add these together, you get 40. 40 times 4 is 160. Add these together, you get 10. The last number, no matter what you have, if it's a 0, if it's a number, that is going to be your remainder. So the way we write our answers is we take these numbers at the bottom, okay? And we're going to start with one lower coefficient. So this is 3x squared plus 10x plus 40. And your remainder is always over your divisor, okay? So your remainder is always over your divisor, which was your denominator, okay? Now, it'll make more sense if we actually start from the beginning with these questions, okay? So rule number 1 was to write down all of your coefficients. So we look first and we say, do we have descending order? X cubed, x squared, x to the first, no x. That means there's no zeros, okay? So then my coefficients in order are 1, negative 2, negative 9, and 18. And then I go ahead and write this box around them. So again, those are from my numerator, and it's all the coefficients, and we look at the exponents from in descending order. The next step is to figure out what number goes on the outside. Well, we take our denominator and we set it equal to 0. So then x is negative 3, and that negative 3 is the number that goes on the outside. Okay, so there's step 1 and step 2. Now, all these other steps, it's going to be a pattern. We're always going to bring down the first number every single time. Now, we're going to multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add until we can't anymore, okay? So we're going to take this number and we're going to multiply it by the outside number. So 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Add that column together, we get negative 5. Multiply with the number on the outside. So negative 5 times negative 3 is a positive 15. Add these together. Negative 9 plus 15 is a positive 6. Multiply with the number on the outside, we get negative 18. Add those two numbers together, my remainder is 0. Okay, so there is no remainder. So now those are my new coefficients to my answers. So my coefficients are going to be 1, negative 5, and 6. But what are my variables? Well, I'm going to start with one exponent lower. So instead of x cubed, I'm going to start with x squared. Because if you think about dividing, guys, when we divide exponents, we're subtracting them. That's how this works. So x cubed divided by x became x squared. And we're going to work our way down also in descending order. And because there is no remainder, this is my final answer. Okay, let's do that again. The first step is to look at my exponents. If I go down from 3, 2, 1, and there's nothing missing here. Okay, so I'm going to make my chart, my table, and I'm going to start with my coefficients from my question. 1, 6, 11, and 16. So 1, 6, 11, and 16. The number that goes on the outside is taking your denominator and setting it equal to 0. So how do I move the 1 over? I subtract the 1. And that's the number that goes out here. Okay. Then we always, always, always bring down the first term. Okay. Now we multiply with the number on the outside. So 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So we add on the inside, then multiply with the outside. So 6 plus negative 1, or 6 minus 1, is 5. Now multiply with the number on the outside. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. Add these together. So 11 plus negative 5, or 11 minus 5, is a positive 6. Now multiply with the number on the outside. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. Add those together or subtract, and we get a positive 10. So this one does have a remainder. So again, we have our coefficients and we have our remainder. So we're going to take these numbers and we're going to start with one exponent lower. So we're going to start with 1x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now what do we do with our remainder? We're going to put plus, and this is going to be a fraction. 10 over what? Well, what am I dividing by? 10 over x plus 1. Okay, so that is my official answer. So again, these are my coefficients. I start with one exponent lower than the one I started with. So I started with 2, 1, none. And the last number is always your remainder, and we're going to write it over your divisor, also called a denominator in this case. So go ahead and practice number 1 on your own. I will freeze this video, and when you come back, your answer is going to be there. Now you're able to check your work and see if you could have done this without us. So inside, I took my coefficients 1, 4, and 3. On the outside, I had to put negative 1 because I had to set my denominator equal to 0. I brought the 1 down, multiplied with the outside. Add these together, or subtract if you see a minus sign. You get 3. Multiply, and my remainder was 0. So guys, why do we use synthetic division? What is it? Well, if I were to multiply my quotient, which is my answer, x plus 3 times x plus 1, I actually get my numerator. Okay, so we're basically trying to work it backwards. Go ahead and try number 2 on your own. Pause this video, and when you come back, your answer will be there. Check your work and see if you got it right. We started with our coefficients on the top. I had to set my denominator equal to 0. I got a 2 to put on the outside. Remember, you always bring down the first term, multiply with the term on the outside. Add these together, multiply with the term on the outside. Add these together, and your last answer is always your remainder. And at the end, we wrote our remainder over our denominator. Okay? So here we will practice some with some missing terms. Now notice that these division problems look different. Are they worked any differently than the ones that look like fractions? They are not. Okay? So just another way of looking at them. A division can be written as a fraction or be written with the division sign. So we start off looking, do we have x cubed, x squared? This one doesn't have an x value. So we need to know that we have 0 x's. So in order now, we have -1, 4, 0, 9. Because even if you don't have a term, you still need a placeholder for it. So my coefficients are -1, 4, 0, and 9. So you always make sure that every single exponent has a coefficient from 3 to none, okay? What goes on the outside? Well, we had x minus 3 as basically my denominator, what I'm dividing by, and I set that equal to 0. So my number on the outside is 3. So we always start out with bringing the first number down, okay? Always. Multiply by the number on the outside. 4 plus -3, or 4 minus 3 is 1. Multiply with the number on the outside. Add those together. Multiply with the number on the outside. So even though I see 9 and 9 in your head, you're thinking, oh, we have no remainder. No, 9 plus 9 is 18. Okay? So now I'm going to write my answer. I always start with one exponent lower, so -1x squared plus 1x plus 3 plus your remainder over your divisor or your denominator. And that's my answer. Okay? And problem number 2, I start with x cubed. So x cubed next should be x squared. There is no x squared. So I have 0 x squared. So my coefficients in order are 2, 0, -1, -7. On the outside, I have x plus 3 equals to 0. It's x equals -3. So step number 1 is to always bring down your first term. Multiply with your number on the outside. Add those together. Multiply with your number on the outside. Add those together. Multiply with your number on the outside. Okay. The last number, so add those together. That is your remainder. So my answer is going to be 2x squared minus 6x plus 17 plus -58 over x plus 3. Now go ahead and practice number 1 on your own. Go ahead and pause this video, and when you come back, your answer will be there. Okay, hopefully you got the same answer. Where was our 0? We had 0x squared, okay? So this was x cubed, x squared, x, and then your coefficient. So we brought down our first number, multiplied on the outside, okay? And we followed that pattern. So go ahead and check your work. Go ahead and try number 2 on your own. It's just practice, good to have. Pause this video. When you come back, your answer will be there. Okay, you can go ahead and check your work there and see if everything made sense. Now guys, this negative sign, I like to put it in my numerator. I've seen some people put it out here. They are both correct. The only thing that's different about it is if I have two terms here and I put the negative out here, I have to factor out the negative. So for me, it's usually simpler to keep it a positive here. Now here we're going to use synthetic division, but this time, this says use synthetic division to evaluate the function for the indicated value of x. Well, this told us x equals to 1. So this already gave us what number is going to go on the outside. Okay, so this is already saying that this is on the outside. Now, I do want to know what I'm dividing by, guys, because if I have a fraction, if I have a remainder, I needed to know that before I had x equals 1, what was I dividing by? So if x equals to 1, I'm going to work backwards. How do I set that equal to 0? How do I move that 1 back over with the x? Well, I subtract 1, and I subtract 1. So now I have x minus 1 equals 0. Because I'm going to want that x minus 1 if I have a remainder at the end. So we're going to go ahead and look at our exponents. X squared, x, and then a number. We don't have any zeros, okay? So what are my coefficients? 1, 5, 6. Step number 1 is to always bring down your first term. Multiply with the number on the outside. Add them together. Multiply with the number on the outside. Add them together. My remainder is 12. So my answer is going to be 1x plus 6 plus 12 over this right here, not the equal 0. This is going to go as my denominator. So this is my final answer. Okay. Example number 2. X equals negative 2. If x equals negative 2, how do I solve that one for 0? How do I set it equal to 0? I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So now x plus 2 equals 0. So my denominator was really x plus 2. So we're going to write our coefficients. Our coefficients now, before we write them though, do I have all of them? X cubed, x squared, x, and then the number. So I don't have any zeros, guys. You always have to check for those, okay? So my coefficients are 4, 10, negative 6, and negative 23. And it told us that negative 2 is what's going to go on the outside. Okay? Bring down the first number. Multiply with the number on the outside. Add those together. Multiply with the number on the outside. Add those together. Multiply with the number on the outside. Add those together, and the last number is always your remainder. So my answer, I'm going to start one exponent lower. X squared, x, and then the number. And my remainder on top. And remember that I had to know what my denominator was going to be, which is x plus 2. Okay. Go ahead now, when you try this one, try number 1 on your own, and go ahead and pause this video. Okay, check your work for practice number 1. Now go ahead and try practice number 2 on your own. Pause the video, and when you come back, that answer will be there. And go ahead and check your work there and see if everything made sense and if you got it right. Don't forget, I guess, with this one is that you need to know for your denominator, you need to set this, you need to take this and move this 5 over and set it equal to 0. Okay? So now we just have 4 more practice questions, a little bit of everything that we did today. So go ahead and work on all 4 of these on your own for practice. And then when you come back, all of your answers will be here. So you can pause your video now if you want to practice on your own. Now you can go ahead and check your work, and if you have any questions, let me know. You can leave me a comment on them, but hopefully you were able to practice synthetic division. Now guys, we will only use synthetic division when we are dividing by a linear function, linear expression. If this video helped you at all, go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you want to subscribe to this channel, and I will be posting more of these educational videos. Thanks, and have a great day.